chains and set us free. Riders on the prairie, the wild and free, bows and arrows, Colt 45's decree. No more tyranny, no more lies, under open skies we rise. Fight, fight, fight till we reclaim the night. Cowboys and Indians in the blazing light. Fight, fight, fight till the dawn is near. We'll never live in fear. On the blood moon, we all unite. Horses thunder in the night. No longer slaves to the empire's might. Strength in numbers, strength in rise. We'll rise. On the blood moon, we unite. Horses thunder in the night.
Welcome, everybody, to the 83rd episode of the Cowboys and Indians podcast. It is just the Indian today, no cowboy. Once again, Steve is busy doing stuff, so he wasn't able to make it. So this isn't going to be a super long stream or anything like that, but I felt it was important to come on and talk a little bit about Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day, as a lot of people are trying to make it nowadays, even though I'm pretty sure once we voted Trump in, it was his mandate and the American people's mandate that we call it Columbus Day. But we still have so many people saying that it's Indigenous Peoples Day. Viola, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Kilburn, Diesel Gamer, thank you for sharing the stream. Man, we had a lot going on over the weekend. As far as the news goes, you know, I kind of tuned out over the weekend. Andy, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining. Trump basically made a peace deal in the Middle East between Gaza and Palestine and all that. So I guess that's good news. There's a lot of people that are celebrating that today. And, you know, good for them. No more, as long as it stops going to war with Iran, because that's been the main concern of mine for quite some time, is that we were going to actually side with Israel and when they attack Iran. But it looks like that's not going to happen as of right now, so that's good news. Peace in the region, I guess. Right? Big win. MD James, appropriate for the day that that native is the one on. Yeah, of course, man. I mean, today is it's so funny seeing a bunch of Native Americans basically try to capitalize off the fact that it's Indigenous Peoples Day. And, you know, like there's this guy, Jonathan Nez. He's running for Congress in Arizona. And he comes out and he wants to, you know, uplift Native voices and all this. And he comes out saying that he wants to be the first Native American from Arizona to serve in Congress. But instead of celebrating Columbus Day, you know, he's a Democrat, which blows my mind how Native Americans can even be Democrat. To all Native Americans out there, I ask you this, okay? I think the population for Native Americans in this country is like under 6 million, right? It's like 5 million or something. So we're like in between 1% and 2% of this country's overall population. Now, if you put that into perspective, the Democrats over the past 5 years with their open border policy have allowed in like 3 times the amount of 3 times that population amount of Native Americans across our border. So Native Americans were replaced threefold with a new group of people that actually are demanding more money and resources be shifted to them. So they were actively like shutting their voices down. So I don't understand at all how any Native American can be a Democrat or support that party in general, because it is literally just replacing they're replacing Native Americans actively by bringing in another minority group, criminal aliens that cross the border that are going to take up all the resources. So if they did want to advocate for Native American causes or reservations or federal grants or whatever it is, they're lessening their chance because now the illegal population that has been brought in is now 3 times the amount of Native Americans that there are even in this country left. So it makes no sense at all that Native Americans would be Democrat. Oh, but I mean, but they're still doing it for some reason. They're still advocating to be Democrats. So check this out. So this is Jonathan Nez, and this is how he comes out. Listen.
Or hello, it's former Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Today is a day to honor the...
See, he doesn't even recognize Columbus Day. It's like, dude, you're wearing like modern clothes. You got a wristwatch on. You got glasses on. All this stuff is because the white man came over. And you don't want to even acknowledge Columbus Day? It's like this. That's what started the... It's what started this entire thing. That's why we're here. 249 years into the creation of America, from when we declared independence. You're wearing all this modern stuff and want to run in the American Congress and you don't even recognize Columbus Day? Come on, man.
Strength, resilience, and rich history of all Indigenous peoples across Arizona and the entire country. When elected, I would be the first ever Native member
and his
of Congress
haircut
from Arizona. I would be honored to make history in this race and bring Indigenous and rural voices and communities to the table in Congress. But I need your help to get there. Join our team at JonathanNezForArizona.com. Ahihe, thank you.
See, and he's not even speaking English. Why? Just why, man? It makes no sense. It to me, it boggles my mind. Because, yeah, MD James brings up a good point here. His haircut is modern. It's a white man's haircut. So why are you speaking in your native tongue to the American people advocating? And I mean, in all reality, we know why. It's because they're playing the race card in order to try and get an advantage so he can get into Congress and then be a puppet for whatever the Democrats want. Because you know for darn sure, like if you're a Democrat, you are not allowed to have independent thought. You are not allowed to stray from what the party wants. So if he's running as a Democrat, he's not running to be a voice for the people there. He is running to be another puppet, a different kind of representative that they can trot out in front of everybody. Look like, whoa, look how inclusive we are. We have the first Native American representative, even though there's not going to be any actual diversity of thought from him being a Native American, or utilizing the wisdom passed down to help represent the people there in Arizona. No, he's just going to be another mouthpiece for the Democrats. He's going to vote right along with them. It's going to be the same exact thing, business as usual. That's how the Democrats are. You are not allowed to stray from the party's message. When you're a Democrat, you're not allowed to dissent in any way, shape, or form. And if you do, they'll basically kick you out. Like the only Democrats I can really think of that kind of stray from their policy is like John Fetterman. Every once in a while, he'll tweet something out that is like, actually kind of based. And it's like, okay, so it's like they use him to like test the waters. To the Point podcast, man, it's going great. I just had my 34th birthday over the weekend. I always have a costume party. It's a like a Halloween / birthday party, right? And so I get a bunch of people over, and family and friends. We all dress up and have a good time, play ping pong and some other, sit around the campfire and chit chat. And I mean, it was a really good time. I didn't take any pictures though. Got no pictures. It's like it never happened. I can't share with the world, but I'm actually okay with that because I had a really good time, and it's like an exclusive, right? It's an exclusive party that one day maybe I'll be able to invite more people and have actually like have an event. that'd be a lot of fun, like a Halloween event, right? We don't really do much Halloween. Nobody in my family really eats candy at all. So, we just like to get people together, and everybody brought their kids. It's a kid-friendly event, so we had like 12 kids just running around. It's kind of chaotic for a little while, but they get used to it. And I just think that's what life's about, man. It's about time with family and friends and making good memories and and actually enjoying, not always being so engulfed with the worries of the world, because there's, if you're just on, like, I'm on X all the time, just constantly, and it is infuriating to see all the craziness of the world, and it can get overwhelming at times. So there are times where you just gotta unplug completely. Even I do want to grow as a creator. Thank you guys for sharing this podcast. I really do appreciate it. I do want to grow as a creator, but in all reality, it's not my first priority. My first priority is to be a good husband and father to my kids. And then, of course, I have to protect and provide for them. And then the content creation is kind of on the backside. I do enjoy doing it, though. It's a lot of fun. But sorry, you guys, that Steve couldn't make it. It's just me today. It's just me. But Steve will be back as soon as he's feeling better, or whatever he's got going on. He'll be back. Don't worry. Don't you guys worry. How many accounts have you guys seen today sharing Indigenous Peoples Day? Because it has been everywhere. It's like the Martin Luther King Jr. Center. All of the woke NFL has been sharing it out. The Vikings, the Vikings, was sharing out Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I just found a little bit of irony in that, because the Vikings were not, they weren't like notoriously nice to natives of other lands. They generally went around and, raped and pillaged and did a lot of bad stuff. So, I believe that Columbus started the process to make all of us Native American. I've advocated for a long time that if you were born here, then you're Native American. I call myself Native Patriot because I have indigenous roots on one side of my family, but I believe that I am Native American just like my white brothers down the road. We're all native to America. If your family has been here for 50, 100, 200, 300 years, you're Native American. There's no reason. This country's been around for 249 years, you guys. And a lot of our roots stem from this country for hundreds of years. So it's time to start claiming the land as ours, and not continuing to segregate ourselves into these very different classifications of, who's more oppressed than somebody else. Oh, Native Americans were oppressed and genocided. It's like, well, kind of. 95, it's like 94 or 95% of Native Americans were taken out through disease. And a lot of that was through the diseases they got from trading livestock with the white man. So it's not like it was all like malicious smallpox blankets being handed off. That's not even the main cause of it. A lot of it was the livestock that they were trading with them that kind of introduced new diseases and wiped a lot of the Native Americans out. So, it is what it is. And we can't go back and change history, but I'll tell you what, I'm grateful to be born in this country in this time. It is a blessing. And I know that America has her problems, but I'll tell you what, it is a lot better than, like, if you want to believe as a Native American that it was better, that you could live a better life back then, back before the white man came over and it was constant tribal warfare, slavery. The white man didn't bring over slaves, or they didn't introduce slavery to the Americas, right? They didn't introduce warfare to the Americas. All of that was already going on here, except for the Native Americans were just less technologically advanced than the white man, because they were kind of stuck in their ways, if you will. There weren't really the peaceful hippies that everybody paints them out to be. There were some good things. The Iroquois Confederacy that was going on. They had their own kind of, the Eastern tribes had their own form of government that actually helped play a role into the Constitution being written, with the separation of powers and everything like that. So, Why are the natives so focused on this? I mean, honestly, some of the most racial people I've ever met are res natives. Yes. And I'll include my family in this because I had a Facebook years ago, and I had like 160 friends on there. Right, I wasn't a content creator of any sorts, but I used to have my native family on there. Whenever I would share something that was, I guess, not woke at the time, I would get a lot of my native family that would comment on it and be like, they would basically be racist towards white people, and there's a lot of the problems that you see on the reservations today. All of them are just blamed, like the tribal leadership and personal responsibility is not really found. It's just all the problems are blamed on white people, and they just shift all the blame off and just have this idea that they're oppressed, that the reservation is in shambles just because of white people, right? The white man has kept them down for too long, and it's like that's not the socialist utopias that are the reservations right now have created their own problems because there's a ton of issues with it, but a lot of it's the methadone healthcare. Although I did meet a Native American recently who actually got clean through methadone, but a lot of the Native Americans will use the methadone as like something to get in between their own fixes in their drug addictions, and a lot of my Native family adopted the gangster personality and persona that is very fluent on the reservations, where they have gang fights and drug deals and all of this crap. Like all of the stuff you see in the inner cities, the same crap is going on the reservations, except for they get cheaper living, they get cheaper alcohol, they get cheaper tobacco. The cops don't really bug them as much, so a lot of the Native Americans kind of get a pass to be degenerates on the reservation because they can, and then they can blame all their problems on the the white people outside the reservation, and they can feel like they're this tight knit group of oppressed people fighting against the man. It's just a lot of it's just ridiculous, and it doesn't need to be that way. But I'm an assimilated Native American, right? I was raised by the white folk, and in a small town, and my stepdad owned his own construction company. I've been working since I was a little kid. And I kind of, I saw my stepdad build the house that I grew up in. He built it, over the course of like a year. And it was wonderful to see. And then I learned that, you can make your way in this life, and the only oppression that you're going to have is if you impose it on yourself. For the most part, there are some like I've had very, very, very few racist utterances in real life. Most of it's been on the internet for being the base Native American that I am. They'll call me names, and actually that has slowed down quite a bit. If you guys have followed me for a long time, I used to get a lot more comments from other people saying that I'm Uncle Tonto or a race traitor or a disgrace to my ancestors, and I don't really get that too much anymore. It's possible that I just miss it because I get a lot more notifications, but I think a lot of people have just I just don't get it. I don't get it as much. Maybe they're too scared to intrude on a larger account now that I have a couple 100,000 followers, and I don't like sending or having the appearance of me sending my followers after people. I don't really try to do that very often. I don't try to call out small accounts, even though when I was a small account, I was never afraid of somebody's followers coming after me, because I always assumed that, or I always knew that what I was saying was strong enough to get through whatever they're going to say about it. I knew that I could back up all of my arguments. So if they decided to respond, it was no problem communicating with them or showing people that look, this is what I said. Here's my logical here's my breakdown. and this is why I feel this way. This is why I'm a Christian. This is why I love America. This is why I love the founding fathers. This is why I love this nation. And it just, a lot of those trolls just fell off, and now I don't really see them anymore. So Kilburn says screw Tim Pool. All right. I mean, I don't know what Tim did. I haven't really followed him much, but I don't know. Maybe did he do something mean? I'm not sure what he did. I'm sure you guys saw the really big news with Hassan Piker shocking his dog. That was not a surprise to anybody who follows somebody like that, but that was big news over the weekend as well, is that, you know, they finally caught Hassan Piker in what appeared to be a video of him shocking his own dog, because he keeps his dog on the live stream in the background for like 4, 5, 6 hours straight, and the dog's just supposed to sit there. So, but that doesn't really matter. I don't really. Oh no. So it was Phil Labonte who blocked me because I made a short person joke. Phil Labonte's been following me for years. He's promoted my account, and I made one short person joke, and then he blocked me. I thought, you know, I guess he's got a short temper, right? Yeah, but Tim Pool hasn't blocked me. No, and as far as I know, I'm invited back on his show. So if I do ever have a request to get back on there, I would hope that Phil's there and I could just bring that up, because, you know, it seems petty. You know, maybe he blocked me just without. I don't even know. See, we got way too many. I clicked on a video, or I commented on a couple of the representatives talking about Indigenous Peoples Day, and now that's like all I'm seeing in my feed. We got Rep. Melanie Stansberry. She's in New Mexico's first congressional district, right? And she puts out Happy Indigenous Peoples Day in New Mexico. Every day is an Indigenous Peoples Day. Then why are we... I don't even know the point of that post. But like, we got the Washington Commanders on there. With this guy, he's got like the same haircut as me. It's like if you ordered me off of Wish.com. Fat and hates America and really likes the Washington Commanders for some reason. Terrible. I don't know who that guy is, but I already don't like him. I feel like Native Americans are now just used as like a prop to virtue signal to everybody. Like, look how inclusive I am. Look, I'm a white person helping out all these poor genocided Native Americans. I'm the white savior that they've all been waiting for. It is so tiresome. It is it is just oh, you know what? There is a good video that I wanted to show you guys, because and I'm actually going to send him a prop. So you see in the background there. Nope, over here. My Make America Great Again headdress. I told Sean that I was going to make him one and send him one, because he put out a video today and I just love it. So if you guys aren't familiar with Sean Farash, he does great Trump impressions. He has his own show. But check this out. Listen to this.
This is your favorite president, or as they call me, Chief Golden Eagle, and I wanted to wish you a very happy Columbus Day. I knew Christopher Columbus very well. He was a great friend of mine. I called him Chris, and he did a tremendous job. But the radical left-wing crazy Democrats want to call it Indigenous Peoples Day, and I get along very well with the Indigenous people. They love me. They call me Chief Golden Eagle. They say, Chief, what are we going to do about these crazy radical left-wing Democrats like Lion Liz Warren? I call her Pocahontas. Chief Spitting Bull. She's a horrible person and a loser, and the only woman who has ever failed a DNA test. Nobody ever thought that was possible, but she failed a DNA test. What a disgrace. Jiggly Belly Pritzker. I call him Chief Eats Too Much. Chief broken scale. Every scale he steps on says, "Ouch, you're hurting me. Please get off." He's a huge guy. He keeps stuffing his face. He's a huge guy and a stupid guy. And Peso Store Obama, right? You look at him in his sombrero. El Hakimo, Chief Tiny Teepee. He has a very small teepee. I have a huge teepee. Everybody knows about it. He has a tiny teepee. You know what I'm talking about. And he ought to be ashamed of himself. And he is ashamed of himself. Chief Tiny Teepee, El Hakimo.
Chief Tiny Teepee. It's Chief Tiny Teepee.
But we are sending out an executive order via smoke signal commemorating today as Columbus Day. We're making it Columbus Day again, celebrating my tremendous friend, Christopher Columbus, and all of his incredible achievements. So happy Columbus Day. God bless you. God bless America. And thank you for your attention to this matter.
Sean Farash, always putting out the good stuff, man. Make sure you give him a follow. If you're not following him, he puts out a lot of great stuff. He's got more followers than me, but he's great. It's Sean_Farash. He's hilarious, man. I mean, we've had him on the show. He's a friend. So, so I'm gonna send him a MAGA headdress like that, so that way he can create some content and have a little bit more oomph in his videos. You know, I think that'd be perfect. So I'm looking forward to making that for him, and it'll be good. It'll be really good. But other than that, you guys, we got peace in the Middle East. We got my birthday's done and over with. We got anything else coming up? Any big news that you guys are hearing about that I'm not privy to? Because like I said, I took the entire weekend off, and it was the least stressful weekend that I've had in a long time. It was just good. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, we got, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. We got everybody just leeching off of this. Martin Luther King III, Indigenous history is American history. Oh, hey, look at that. Well, that's cool. I agree with that statement. On Indigenous Peoples Day, we recommit to justice, respect, and restoration, remembering that truth and reconciliation are ongoing work. Healing begins when we listen, learn, and stand together. Interesting. It almost seems like his statement there is like counterproductive to celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day as opposed to, just Columbus Day. Like maybe he should listen to the American mandate, which is calling it Columbus Day. Stock market has been down the last few days. Yeah, I have a feeling that that we're probably going to see a recession here soon, and it's not going to be pretty, because we've kind of been floating for a long time and not falling into a depression. And yes, silver has been going up like crazy, and so that's generally a good indicator of, we got problems coming down the line. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging the good and bad parts of American history. Conservatives only want whitewash history told. I don't think that's true. I think that when it's told in a light where it's coming from somebody that hates America and wants to convince you that it was a bad thing, I think that's what conservatives take issue with. Like, conservatives won't have an issue with you saying that atrocities were committed in the past. It's like, well, yeah, everybody, like every country has bad history. Every single country was conquered at one point or another, and I think it's the way it's acknowledged, or like in modern day, the way that the conversations go is there's like blame put on the white people of today in the context of like relaying that history. And so there's an underlying like jab at white people, right? On the history being conveyed. So if it's conveyed in a malicious manner like that, then yes, conservatives take issue with that. But it can't just be said that like they don't want to acknowledge history. It's just, no, we just take it in the understanding that every single, like, humanity in general has been enslaving and conquering each other for all time. It's not some like special white person problem that, you know, it's not inherent to white people. Like, slavery isn't inherent to white people. You know, there's modern day slaves in Africa right now. There's modern day slaves, excuse me, in the Middle East right now, that in China, you know, in all these places. But for some reason, a lot of it's just blamed on white people of today. Conservatives claim anyone that talk about bad parts of American history are haters of America. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to give me like specific examples, because that's not what I see. Yeah, you know, I there are a lot of haters of America. Like, I just made a post today. Let's see. I'll show it to you. Because when it's given in this context, right? Like, it's when it's given in a context like this, right? Because there are a lot of people that will say that, like, they're indigenous people and they have like the right to be pissed off at them. It's like, okay, but also they're all wearing modern clothes. Like this hat that he's wearing. You think that was not made by slaves? Pretty sure it probably was. But it's like they're perfectly okay with living in the way of the world right now and supporting slave masters overseas to get fancy new widgets or cheaper hats or whatever it may be. But they want to blame the foundation of this, the founders of this country that did great things in their lives, in order to break us away from a monarchy and to end slavery back in, during the Civil War, and to basically make a country that is unique in human history, where the government is supposed to recognize inalienable rights in its people, and where the people have the power. So when it's given in a context like this, it's frustrating. And so why wouldn't that be frustrating when there's no respect given, or how they just say it's like they're like, I wonder what he's teaching his kids, right? Is he teaching his kids that, like, the founders of this country were white men that only wanted to support white men, and to me it just doesn't make much sense that you wouldn't be upset if somebody came at you like this. You're right. It would be better discussed live. I don't know. I think that nowadays it's just so easy to fall into the trap, especially with maybe naive people, that the idea of America being made is somehow like a bad thing for the world overall. And I mean, this was just my response to it. Like I said, I'm blessed to be born in America. I'm Native American with emphasis on American. The white man did not bring slavery to the Americas, but they did end them. And for that, I'm grateful. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple message. You know, I'm choose to live my life with an attitude of gratitude and not blame modern day people for what happened throughout history, because there was a lot of bad things in history on the Native American side, and on the white man side, and on the Asian side, and on in the black community side. You know, I made a comment. I never checked back in on the comment that I made to you, Smokestack, where you said that, you know, your ancestors were brought over here in slave ships. And I kind of made a snarky comment saying that, you know, well, are you sure that your ancestry isn't the ones who caught and sold the slaves? Because, you know, that's a black mark on the Africans there who were catching slaves and then selling them. It's like they're selling their brothers, right? But they're from different tribes, they're from different areas, and so they would just take people and you want to join? I'll send you a DM. I'll send you a DM right now. That'd be fine. Let's see. Hold up. How do I get this here? I don't know if you want to join on your phone or what, but I'll send you the link if you want to hop up here. Okay, Apple. Hey, look at that. I got a Apple comment. If you guys don't know, that's red on the outside, white on the inside. So that's just one of those things, you know. Instead of people, I don't know if he's being serious or not, but it is what it is. There's going to be protests this weekend. No kings, no tyrants, no peace, or some BS like that. Yes, because kings and tyrants, they tend to make peace deals and stop us from getting into wars. Yeah, that's what kings and tyrants do. You know, I mean, even Joe Rogan came out recently and was talking about how you like, if you support the deportations right now and what's going on, then you have no heart. And I feel like there was an understanding, or at least there was an idea of when Trump was getting elected, that we were going to deport all the illegals, all the people who came here illegally, who cut in line, and who, you know, it's gonna be mass deportations, everybody. But then when it actually starts happening, there's a lot of people who kind of squirm out of it, and they're like, well, you know, it's maybe not the best look. And it's like, yeah, it's not the best look, but in all reality, there's a lot of people who want to come here legally and who've been put in the back of the line because of all of these criminal aliens who cross the border. So it's just frustrating, you know. You can't reward that behavior, because otherwise it'll happen more. And we've seen it with what the Democrats and I mean with what the Democrats were supporting in the open border, and how they were literally recruiting people and teaching them how to apply for asylum if they got caught crossing the border. So you can't reward that behavior. So it has to be, you know, everybody has to be treated the same. If you're illegally in this country and you get caught, you're going to get deported. End of story. Doesn't matter if you've been here for 20 years. If you've been here for 20 years, you should have definitely found a way to become a legal citizen by now. 20 years is more than enough. So there's, you know, 7.8 billion people in the world, or I think there's a lot of people that want to come to America. Not everybody gets to. And if you do it illegally, you're going to get deported. It's just the way it is. So it's the way it has to be in order to have some kind of law and order, and a process that is honored, that should be honored in order to do it. Anthony, you guys welcome Anthony to the stage. We've been talking back and forth for quite some time over X, and we've had some disagreements, but he's always been very pleasant to me. So Anthony, I appreciate you coming on and you know, wanting to actually have conversations about this stuff, because I know that I'm pretty firm in my beliefs, but you always kind of bring a different view to what I have to say. So I do appreciate you coming on, though, man.
Oh yeah, no problem, bro. I appreciate you bringing me on, man. Like you said, we always have disagreements, but I hope you don't take when I'm a veteran, so I can kind of go kind of hard at times, but it's nothing personal.
No, I get that fully, man. I'm perfectly okay with people, you know, having strong disagreements with me, because I know that, dude, I'm 34, man. I'm not always right. I grew up in a small town, but I feel like I can always defend my positions, and it is difficult at times to do it over text or to like respond, you know, in that way. So, what we were talking about before with, you know, how conservatives view the disagreements. In what context are you kind of portraying that view? Like, are you talking about like content creators, live streamers, or just like your general view of conservatives on X?
Well, more so, I see conservatives on X, random accounts, or even some of the bigger influencers. Anytime somebody posts some type of, you know, about, say if I talked about the founders, talk about Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, that he owned over 300 slaves. Oh, you just hate America. You just hate America. It's like, I can't mention the side of history that we were never taught in school, because a lot of the stuff that we learned, I remember growing up and going to school, you learned about the founding of America, you learned about the founders. It was more of a sanitized version of American history. I didn't learn about the fact that Thomas Jefferson ended up having kids with his wife half sister, owned over 300 slaves. Like even like George Washington owned multiple slaves. My thing is we can acknowledge the good and the bad history. We can also say that hey, Thomas Jefferson wrote one of the greatest documents in human history, and also say at the same time, even though he wrote the Declaration of Independence, he had some hypocrisy going on by owning slaves. That's my thing. I hate when people gaslight me. Oh, he really wanted to get rid of slaves. If he really wanted to get rid of slaves, he would have got rid of them. You know what I'm saying? It's like all I want is for history to be told in its totality. You can tell the good with it. You can tell the bad with it. That's my thing, bro.
Yeah, and I think that's actually important to do, and especially having it in the context of like all the founding fathers that had slaves were born into families that owned slaves, so that was the way of the world they inherited, and they broke away from that in a way, not only separated themselves from a monarchy, but laid the seeds that ended slavery in the Americas, and I think that that's absolutely huge. Like I think that that is a better achievement than them being born into being slave owners, right? Or inheriting that kind of idea, because not only did they break away from the monarchy, but they did lay the groundwork to end slavery here and to bring forth the idea that all people are created equal, right? Now they didn't embody that perfectly, but we don't embody that perfectly today either. We as modern people still have like my main criticism with people that will bring up the fact that the founding fathers owned slaves is that we fund slavery today around the world through various ways, and a lot of people will come to me and say that, you're complaining that we partake in the world. Like a lot of the widgets, a lot of our cell phones, right? Our cell phones, all the cobalt is mined by children slaves in the Congo. That's horrific. But if you participate in that, you are literally funding the slave masters that are forcing those kids to mine the cobalt. And when you buy cheap widgets from China and cheap clothing from China, a lot of these places, they're using slave labor. And we're born into this world and we participate in it. And I don't see us taking the same kind of action to end that on the same level as what the founding fathers did, right? So they were born into it. And they did very drastic things to separate themselves from the just participating in the world, right? They separated and created something new, and it led to the Civil Rights Act. It led to the Civil War, which ended slavery here in America. And like if you wanted to criticize that, then I would challenge you in the way that, okay, well, what are you doing to end the funding of slave owners nowadays, right? Like I like personally, the best solution that I've come up with is to buy almost everything secondhand. Like I don't buy virtually anything new. All like my cell phone is bought secondhand, so that way it goes like the money will stay here in America as opposed to going to the slave owners, right? Like that's most of my clothes are bought secondhand, and like when we go shopping for my kids, we go to Goodwill. And all the stuff, all the money that we spend is either going to like people on OfferUp or, what is that, Facebook Marketplace or Goodwill, as opposed to supporting the people who use these sweatshops overseas, right? Like that's what I've tried to do to make my teeny tiny change, right? But I'm not perfect still. I'll still buy stuff off of Amazon, and then I'll get it and it freaking says like made in China, and I'm like, God damn, son of a, I hate that. But for my moral conscience, in order to stay consistent, if I were to criticize the founding fathers for that and for them owning slaves, I would have to be harder on myself for funding it today, right? I think you're muted there, Anthony.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I agree that we should, focus on stopping any type of slavery that's going on in modern day, like you talked about in Congo when it comes to
mm-hmm.
cobalt. And there are people who talk about the past and stuff like that, and actually focus on slavery in Africa and in different parts of the world. But a lot of times, I feel like I'm with you on it. I'm 100% with you on it. We should stop slavery, period, in modern day times. But I also feel like a lot of times when people, I guess you want to call them the left or woke, what do you want to call it, bring it up, I feel like sometimes it's a deflection from addressing what we're talking about America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about America. I'm not worried about what's happening in Congo or somewhere else right now. I'm talking about what's happening here because I feel like we have even though like we ended slavery in America, we went through Jim Crow, we had a civil rights movement. There are still wounds from our past that America's never really healed from. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I I think it's just something we need to really have we never had a genuine conversation about this. And I feel like a certain side only that they don't want to talk about it. They just want to deflect from it. And what am I still trying to say? But
Well, I think I understand what you're saying,
mhm,
and I think the most difficult part
mhm.
about trying to have that conversation is the way it gets adopted into and adopted, monetized, and utilized against it's like somebody loving this country, right? Like I will get constant flack for just saying that I'm a patriot, right? Not as much anymore. I don't see it as much, but since I'm Native American, people believe that I should have that same kind of resentment towards this country, towards the founding of this country. But I have a lot of deep respect because I see that the acts of the founding fathers and the many men that sacrificed their lives for our country as greater than the atrocities that happen. And it's not that those things didn't happen, or that they shouldn't have happened that way. It's just I can't change that, right? There's no way for me to change that right now. But when you're talking about it in the modern context, I feel like the idea that like I was talking about this earlier with the Native Americans on the reservation, right? A lot of their problems are self-induced. A lot of their problems that they have are with the little socialist hellholes that they create on the reservations that emulate socialism in certain ways. And then a lot of the tribal leaders will get a lot of money, and the people on the reservation are screwed. They get left into, they become alcoholics, they become druggies, and a lot of it's enabled by the leadership there. And then the leadership will use that their own people's suffering as talking points to get more federal grants or whatever it may be to line their own pockets. And you'll see a lot of the same problems as with any government, where a lot of the few people at the top are getting the money and then the rest of the people suffer. And so I believe that the Native Americans, a lot of the problems that they endure today are caused by their own doing, by getting the casinos put up and the reservation tribal money that gets either given out freely or accrued at the top. A lot of the problems are not the fault of white people of today. And I think that it's difficult to kind of separate and have that conversation and say that, okay, there are wounds created, but a lot of the fault is on you. Like, I was raised off the reservation, and my brother was raised on the reservation. He's been in and out of jail for the last decade. I haven't spoke to him because he's had so many problems. He had a good heart. I know he did when he was a kid. And growing up, I used to talk to him a lot, and I saw him change, and I saw him fall into the gang life, the drug life, the partying life, just like he became of the world and of that culture, the gangster culture that he's lost now. I don't know when he's ever going to come back. I don't know if I'll ever be able to actually, have my brother back. But I mean, since I was raised separate from that, I became a very different person with different values. And I think it's strictly because I was raised around the people that I was raised by. And because he was raised in that environment, that doesn't honor God, that doesn't strive for marriage, that doesn't strive to raise your kids to be patriotic and spend time with them. And have the traditional nuclear family values, the Christian values that I try to promote. Since he wasn't raised by that at all, he became something completely different. He's not a patriot. He doesn't believe in God. He is doing drugs. He's in, in and out of jail, participating in the gang violence and all that shit. And it's like, if I was raised on the reservation, I would more than likely have become the same way. And so that doesn't really, I don't think that that's necessarily like the everlasting wounds from them being put on the reservations. I think it's more of a culture problem that they're enabling today, and that the only way to save that is to basically stop putting the blame on this, the idea of the past white people that in the previous wounds, and start taking more responsibility for what is going on in today's world, and how we're raising our kids to love this country and to strive for more, as opposed to this YOLO lifestyle that is so self-destructive, and not respecting women, and having multiple baby daddies, or not sticking with one person, and honoring marriage as what it was supposed to be: one man, one woman, under God, till death do us part. I don't think we were ever 100% successful in that. Divorces have always happened. There's been abusive husbands, but I think that is an ideal that we should strive for, and I think that's the only way to really end those wounds, those everlasting wounds that you were talking about. And I can only really talk about the Native American side, as opposed to like the inner black city community. But I there's a lot of it's a lot of the same problems that you see. Divorce rates, gangs, drugs. It's just that there's a higher percentage of Black Americans stuck in these inner cities that are impoverished in the same way that Native Americans are. But they suffer from the same kind of cultural defects that will almost guaranteed lead to being self-destructive, if that makes sense.
I hear you. I can't really speak on the reservations because I've never been on a reservation, and you're probably the first. I know I've served with some Native people in the Army, but as far as like a conversation like this is the first. But I want to push back a little bit because I'm gonna speak on my side of my community. Every community has its issues. Every community has its issue. Every community has its people that's doing acts that does dumb things and says stupid stuff or commits crimes or whatever. But that's not the majority of the community. Because a lot of times I see on the right, they love, when it comes to specifically to the Black community, it's always, it's their culture. Their culture's bad. The majority of Black people in America are good stand-up citizens. They go to work every day. They have families. They have careers. They go to college. They go into the military. They start businesses. Like I live in Atlanta. It's the #1 city for Black entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I grew up. And if you live in the suburbs, it was predominantly white. When I moved down here, the suburbs were predominantly Black. We had people who were doctors, lawyers. So this whole thing that Black people have like this degenerate culture, they're all committing the crimes, they're having a bunch of babies, and they're single parent households. Like, yeah, in the past, a lot of kids were born to single parent household, but that's down to 50% now. And the majority of my friends are married, they have kids, they're very active, and if the ones who aren't married, they're still active fathers within their household with their children. And a study done by the CDC found that Black fathers are the most active fathers in America. So I just that makes my blood boil because when I stand around, I live in predominantly Black metropolitan city. When I walk around, when I go to Walmart, I see fathers with their families. I see fathers with their kids. But yes, I agree. Like I said, I agree that we have to take responsibility for the things that we do, as far as like whether it's killing each other or commit some type of crime, or if we have a kid out of wedlock and not taking care of our kids. I'm all for self accountability, but I also can acknowledge that, hey, there were some things that in the past, or some things 5, 10, 15, 50 years ago that are still affecting our community. I always use this analogy. So what happens when you throw a rock in a lake, right? It creates a ripple effect, right? It creates a wave.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to remember, like for example, I use my mother. My mother is 55. She is the first. She's the first generation. Her generation is the first generation to have full American citizenship. You know what I'm saying? 50 years ago, her mother couldn't even vote. My grandmother, who's still living. So it's like, and then conservatives or white people look at black folks and say, how come they're not doing this or how come they're not doing that? You got to remember, white people had a 400 head start in this country. And then when black people were building communities like the Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Lane, Arkansas, they came in, they burned down any progress we made. You know what I'm saying? So black people we have tried to make advances. We tried to build communities, but when we did build those communities, white people came right in and destroyed it. You know what I'm saying? Or you can go to the '80s, the crack epidemic. The CIA was dumping all those drugs into the black community. The '60s,
Yeah.
redlining. Banks literally drew on maps and say, "Hey, we can't allow black people to buy in this community, these neighborhoods right here." The number one way to create generational wealth in America is through home ownership. So if you block people out, segregate people out of a community where they can buy a home and have property value go up, what happens? They miss out on wealth. So there's been a deliberate effort in America throughout American history to hinder certain groups in America, not just black people. You talk about the Chinese, you can talk about the Japanese, you talk about the natives. There have been deliberate efforts, policy-wise, to stop those groups from advancing, and it's all documented. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, excuse me, I feel like I just want to. Okay, I want to say this. When people criticize America, I always believe when people. I'll say this for me. I'm sorry, my brain's all over the place. I believe you have to love America enough to where you criticize it because you want to see it uphold what its ideals are. Just how you
Yeah.
criticize, just how you criticize certain things in America. I believe that's because you actually do love America. It might be a different viewpoint from how direction how you want to get there, but at the same time, there's people who on the left who love their country, but they say, hell, man, we're the richest country in the world, but I'm paying average of $10,000 to $15,000 a month. I mean a year on health insurance. When you'll tell me, oh, we can't afford to do that, but we just spent $80 billion on two wars. We said
Well,
20.
that's where you and I would have a lot of agreement, is the fact that our government has been it's become its own entity for a long time, and it's worked actively against the American people.
Right.
Sometimes against certain races, but against the American people generally. You know, there's a lot of legitimacy to what you had to say, but I think the component that you missed is the cultural aspects of what has been pushed since the '90s to the inner city youth, and that what I've seen natives in the same way adopt. In that it's the gangster culture that I despise. I can't stand that culture anymore. But there's a culture that, especially with the advent of social media, you know, you look at a lot of the popular music today that gets literally billions of views, and it is just brain slop. Like, there is a difference, I believe, in Americans like you who served, right? Because I have a family member dating a black man, and he's almost 70 now. And I was talking to him because he was raised in a segregated school, and then he served in the military, and he's a patriot, right? But I see such a difference in between in from somebody like that who experienced actual oppression, right? Who grew up in the segregated area, who was picked on for being black, who was actually discriminated against, and the way that he portrays himself and the way that he loves this nation. Was willing to put his life on the line, same as you. You know, you signed the line, went and served in the armed forces because you believe in the ideal of America. Well, there's a cultural aspect nowadays to our youth, and a lot of it's to the inner city, and a lot of it's through the form of gangster rap or just rap in general that promotes this degeneracy and this anti-American way that will lead to absolute destruction of the city. So I think a lot of the criticisms that you see is there's a separation in between the generations here, where like I can see that you have respect for America regardless of your criticisms of the past, where there's a lot of people who just have the idea, a lot of young people that have the idea of just that resentment of, you know, what they're experiencing today is because they're black, even though like wealth nowadays is difficult for anybody. Like one of my younger brothers, he can't start. He's 26 years old. He can't get going. He's stuck at zero. Like he has his bachelor's degree, but he can't afford to move out on his own because there's nowhere for him to start. He can't go out and afford $2,300 rent for an apartment. He can't afford any of that, and he's just stuck at zero, and he's white as snow. And it's like so a lot of the problems that young people are facing right now, millennials too, where they can't have home ownership, it's because the government screwed us over and they printed out all these tax dollars, and a lot of the youth has been looking for someone to blame, and it's been utilized to segregate people, because not only are they looking for someone to blame, but they're also looking for who to partner up with, because the government's a big, like, it's hard to wrap your mind around the idea of going up against the government, right? Because it is so massive. They've screwed us over in so many ways. It is difficult to speak out against it. So a lot of them want to have that brotherhood in a certain way, and it's been utilized against people to adopt this idea of modern day segregation, the political, what is it, very simple term, identity politics, right? That's the easiest way to get into politics, and for someone like you or me to claim victimhood and to rapidly rise against or in the social sphere, it would be easier for us to adopt the idea of oppression, that we're oppressed because, like, I'm oppressed because I'm Native American, or you're oppressed because you're black. It would be easier to get more social currency if we claimed that and then climbed that ladder. So the identity politics has been used against the youth to separate us from the values that made us get so much progress as we have. And so the youth isn't being raised with the same idea that you have, where you have respect for the country and are willing to go die for it. Or that for my family member, the same way, where he was raised in the segregated school and then he joined the military and then he overcame all these obstacles and still loves this nation. But the youth aren't being raised that way. They're being screwed over monetarily. They'll never own a home, or at least I don't think they're ever going to be able to. I don't know how they would. Uh-oh, I lost him. But that's the point that I wanted to get across. Maybe he'll be able to rejoin, but I really believe that the idea of, or to our youth, has been politicized by these by the woke Marxists, and it's one of the reasons why I speak out against it, is because our youth isn't being raised with this idea that they should love America, or that they should actually take part in this. I just see the separation between the two, between someone like you and between what's actually popular in the black community. If you just go by the numbers of, like, the rap songs and a lot of this stuff, where a lot of the youth is being based on degeneracy, and that all their problems are stemming from whatever identity politic reason that they can come up with. So it's just, they don't have the same values, and I don't know how to fix that apart from, like, the banner that I have below, Make America Christian Again. Get back to our values and start seeing each other as brothers, as opposed to seeing each other as opponents and trying to utilize the past against each other. Like, even though, like, I see why you believe it's important to convey all the parts of history, but in order to overcome the frickin' government brutalizing all of us and screwing us all over, we're going to have to band together. That's the only way I see moving forward. Getting back to nuclear family, and the idea that you're American first before you're African American or before I'm Native American, right? I always say emphasis on American after I say Native American because I believe that I'm an American through and through 100%. And that I'm not going to look at you any different than you should look at me. And I'm not going to try and compete with you about what our ancestors went through because I want our youth, I want my kids, my boys to have those values growing up. And that's the only way I see us actually moving forward as a country and being able to overcome what the government has done to all of us now, not just the inner city. Like, they have their own problems, same as the reservation, they have their own problems, but the newest generation coming up, the Gen Z, I mean, nobody's going to own a house. All the generational wealth is gone. It's going to be completely wiped out very soon once the boomers pass off and all their houses get bought up by BlackRock and all that shit. Like, we're all going to be screwed shortly if we don't change our ways and go back to the values that made us come together in the first place. If that makes sense. I know that was a lot. I kind of went off, for a little while there, but
I hear you. Like I agree. People should have pride in where they live and what country they live in. But I don't believe in forced patriotism because what I see coming from the right now, or places like Oklahoma, or even with Trump with the National African American Museum in D.C., how he wants basically to go in there and put a more positive or a more positive spin on, I guess, African American history or whatever. I don't know if you've ever been to the museum before, but it's an amazing museum. It tells the total story of the African American experience from the time from the time we arrived here in America as enslaved Africans all the way to modern day times. I think if you want people to be patriotic about their country, we need to address the actual issues that are affecting people every day. Like we talked about housing, being about home as a millennial, talk about health care. Things like that. And then as far as the youth, uh, music, like how can I put this? Like, I don't really music. It can be an influence. So I'm not gonna say it's not, but I don't think that's the main reason why some kids go out here and they act crazy or whatever. But I'm trying to say, I don't get my thoughts together.
well, I think a lot of it's demonic. I think that it's been adopted in a certain way to be playing in whether you go to bars, whether you go to clubs, whether you go, just
Yeah, but
like
but I hear what you're saying, brother. But that's more of your religious beliefs. That's your beliefs, and I think that's where a lot of times people push back because if we're gonna be a country, if we're gonna be a republic, whatever, uh, not everyone is going to believe in the uh, same religious beliefs as you believe. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, for example, I support having that, people should get married, have kids and all that, whatever. But I understand at the same time, that's not always going to be reality. Like me, I was born, my parents were young when they had me. I grew up in a single parent household, but I had a village. I spent a lot of time with my dad's father, my dad, my uncles, my mom, my aunts, and they all raised me pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So this belief that everybody should just is going to be married and have this nuclear family is just
well,
unrealistic.
were any of them Christian though?
They were, they were, or whatever. But they didn't. We didn't go to church all the time growing up per se or whatever. But we still had a strong core value, family core values. Family was very important. Spending time with each other was very important. They made sure I did what I was supposed to do in school.
Hmm.
If I went from my dad house to his sister house, the same rules applied. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing changed. Um, but I don't know, man, because I work with with the youth in my community a lot, and yes, there are kids who are going through a lot of issues at home. Between some might be homeless, some of them might be dealing with abusive parents, but the vast majority of kids I see, man, are really this generation, in my opinion, they're a lot smarter than our generation. Like when it comes to like entrepreneurship, I see kids 18 and 19 and 20 who are talking about starting businesses and stuff like that. And as far as if we want to have people take pride in where they live and what country they live in, it's not through forced patriotism. We have to find a way to solve the issues and problems in America, and we got to live it. You got to live it, man. You know, you got to be the example of what that is. And the stuff
Got
I
to
see
embody the values you preach, man. I say
right,
that all the time.
right,
I do my
but
best to do that. But
right,
yeah,
right,
I agree with you.
right. And the issue I run into is a lot of people on the right, man. They talk about Jesus Christ. They post Jesus as King. But when I see them, how they talk about people in the world, they talk about black people, how they talk about undocumented immigrants and stuff like that. It's totally opposite from what I read in the Bible. The Bible that I read. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, bro, like, this is not who Jesus. This is not what Jesus told me how to act right here. What I'm seeing, uh, you know, like people celebrating immigrants getting slammed in the courthouse when she's just trying to ask the ICE agent about, about her husband or whatever. Like, bro, like what are we living in? You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing U.S. troops being deployed into American cities. Like, bro, what country am I living? I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. That's the type of shit I would see over there. That's not the America I know. That's not the America I went to war twice for. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you want people to take pride in the country, how can they take pride when they watching their cities being put on occupation by military force?
I think it's
No.
already been occupied, though. It's just the force that has been taking over the cities has been subversive. It's
What's
been
that?
completely different. So it's been BlackRock buying houses from underneath people. It's been government policies that have undermined America's buying power. That it has been
Right.
bringing in thousands and thousands of
Right.
illegal immigrants that have been taking over houses where everyday Americans should be able to buy it, or they've been taking over jobs. Like it, a lot of this stuff has been.
Bro,
Our cities have been occupied, just not overtly like what Trump is doing now, trying to get rid of the occupation that has been there.
Bro,
Because
I grew up-
the government has been occupying our cities.
He
We
is
haven't
a
had
part-
representation.
bro, he is the government now. He's not an outsider.
That's
no more.
true.
He's a
Yeah,
politician.
I agree.
He's
Yeah.
doing this. When you look at when he took office, right right before he took office, who was sitting at the table with him? Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
Zuckerberg, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Yeah.
All guess why they're all sitting there? Because they want power. They have money.
Mhm.
They
True.
weren't there on the behalf of me and you at all. Those are the people. Those are the people who we should have an issue with. Trump don't give a damn about me or you, bro. He doesn't care about us at all. This is about him. What you see what's happening in D.C., in Chicago, L.A., this is a power thing. I've never seen nothing like this in my lifetime, besides when I went overseas.
I disagree. I think that the troops being sent to these places to take out a lot of the occupation that has been happening under our noses that hasn't been being reported on. But like, there's a reason we're $37 trillion in debt, right? There's a reason that our younger kids cannot buy houses.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason for all of that. And it's been very, very subversive. It's been done behind the scenes. It's been done by companies accruing more power and buying houses from underneath of us. And it's like Trump, I don't see that happening. Like when you say that Trump doesn't care about you or me, right?
Yeah.
Like Michaela Montgomery, who I worked with, she was part of the Patriots Prayer Network. She was the in Atlanta, Georgia. She was the head of the Blexit chapter there.
Right.
I mean,
Hold
Trump
on.
brought her on.
Right, and guess what? I've been in the Atlanta community for over 20 plus years, and I've never seen her do any work in the community.
Well, I couldn't tell you exactly what she did there. I mean, that would be something that you have to bring up with her. But I know that she was. I mean, she had a fundraiser to bring a bunch of kids down to Mar-a-Lago, and was able to do that. And I think that's how she got met Trump. But I mean, she became part of his campaign. I mean, she's working up there now, and she's a single mom living in Atlanta, right? And she stuck out and tried to do something, and he actually really liked her and brought her on. And so as far as powerful people talking to everyday people, I've never heard of anybody talking to more everyday people than Trump. Like, he actually will get other people's opinions more so than, like, I've never been able to talk to Zuckerberg or anybody. Like, there's nothing I can do to get in contact with Bill Gates, right? I could get in contact with Trump. It would be a lot easier to do that, to get a message to Trump than it would be to any of those other billionaires. And I know for a fact by the people that are around him that, I mean, even the Native American group that I work with, the Native Americans Guardians Association, I mean, they're getting in contact with Trump and beginning to work with him about, I mean, you saw him talking about the Redskins. I mean, it's a lot of the little things that you're actually able to get in contact with Trump about these things. And so it's harder for me to believe that he doesn't, that, just that blanket statement that he doesn't care. It's like, he got shot. He's lost a ton of wealth over the past couple of years. I don't see it as a power grab. I see that the occupation of America has been happening by whatever this one world government that wants to happen. It's already been happening for a long time. There's been an occupation. And that's why, like, when we talk about the separation of government becoming its own entity against the people, it sure seems like that entity has taken over a lot more of America than Trump sending out troops to these certain cities around the country. Those people, the troops that he's sending in, they're not like kicking down the doors of everyday Americans' businesses. They're kicking down the doors of these weed shops that have been harboring illegals. Like in California earlier this year, when they busted this weed farm that had like a bunch of kids working there, and I mean, the ICE agents were shot at for doing this, and the media made a whole stink about it, but they failed to mention that there were like 15 kids working at this weed farm. It's like there's an underclass of people, like the illegal immigrants have been an underclass. They've been the serf class that have been used behind doors. And so a lot of this enforcement that you're seeing are these giant companies utilizing slave labor in a certain way, or at least not slave exactly, but like indentured servitude, right? Paying these illegal immigrants very, very low wages so that they can grow more and get more profits. It's like a lot of these companies have been abusing that in order to get more money. And so, like, I don't see how that would be the same as like the subversion of our cities and the raising of prices and all of these DEI initiatives that have been soaking up money. I mean, what Doge did coming in and ending a lot of these, was the USAID, where they were just sending out money like crazy. It was just a giant money laundering scheme.
But the same thing because of Argentina. Prime example, you have farmers in Iowa and Arkansas complaining about, hey, the China's no longer buying their soybean crop. It's about 52% of their crop. And guess what Trump ended up doing? Sending $20 million to Argentina for their competitor. Argentina is, I think, the second largest soybean producer in the world.
You're kind of breaking up. You're going in and out right now.
Hold on.
Maybe if he leaves and then comes back. See, I feel like these are good conversations to have, because I have noticed, I started looking back through some of my earlier tweets. And I used to be a lot more eloquent with the points that I would make, right? I'd be a little bit more nuanced with my posts, and kind of draw them out to explain my side more. But over the past couple of years, I have become more abrasive and more straight to the point, or more critical, or just straightforward and critical of something, as opposed to kind of laying out why I believe what I believe. And so I feel like this is actually a good conversation, because like he'll look at conservatives, especially these bigger accounts, and see the criticisms, and especially with X or any social media, there's trends that happen, and so people will jump on certain words or phrases, and so that'll just be repeated over and over again. So it seems like, okay, everybody believes this, about the black community, or everybody believes this about illegal immigrants. And it's not the real life, and it's not what has caused me to be where I'm at. It's not what drives me to speak out against a lot of this stuff. Even though a lot of my posts have been in more short form, and it's a lot of the reason is because most of the time when I do really long posts, man, nobody sees them. I'll get like 2,400 views on them, and so I kind of stopped putting that much effort into the posts. I don't have as many of those long form, posts about why I believe something anymore, because it seems ineffective, and it doesn't get shared. Like, even if people agree with it, they won't share it. So I don't know. But I can see why, like, his criticisms are the way that I can see why he believes what he believes, and why he has a certain look at conservatives, because I mean, the conservatives on X, you don't get their full opinions. And if you just see their viral posts, I mean, I could see why you'd believe that they are, idiots, or why you think that they're against black Americans, or something like that. I can see all that. That makes sense. So maybe, like, I've been really trying to rack my mind, especially with someone like Brandy Cruz, right? She just went to the White House talking about Antifa. They had that round table at the White House there with a whole bunch of independent journalists. Yeah, Denise, that's also the main thing. It's exhausting to explain it over and over again, isn't it? It is, because every time I have a post go viral, or a post that gets a lot more views, there's a lot more people that'll see it, and there's a lot more people that'll comment the same things, and I can't keep explaining it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's impossible. It's not realistic to continue doing that. So, especially with, like, the very rude people that'll come in, it's difficult to do. All right, we got Anthony back.
Sorry about that. My phone died.
That's all right. That's all right, man. So you were saying about with Trump and him, something about farmers. That's as far as I got.
Right, you were talking about how the USAID, how they were sending money and to basically money laundering, but I'm talking about as far as when it came to, I was talking about the farmers from Arkansas and Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
where they were complaining about, hey, like, we're possibly going to lose our farms, our business, have to take out loans, sell farm equipment, or whatever. But at the same time, while this happened, a couple weeks later, actually, Trump sends $20 billion to Argentina, to the second largest, they're the second largest producer of soybeans in the world. And that's basically American farmers' competitor. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, USAID, I actually have friends that were foreign survey agents. They do a lot of work in other countries as far as when it comes to, like, giving, giving like aid to different countries and stuff like that, for like AIDS, or to build water wells and different things like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't this money laundering organization which the Trump administration made look like it was.
I mean, that may be true to some extent, but I feel like that was probably like 1% of it, so that they could utilize the rest of the money to launder it. I mean, most of the programs that were cut on that list were just money laundering schemes. Like, they would write down, oh, it's for wells here, but then you kind of go look into it, and then no wells were actually built. It was just like the money was sent, and we've had that issue for so long. And it's not like you talk about the farmers getting ready to lose their equipment. Well, that is part of the problem, is that the overregulation of our own farmers have become nearly impossible for them to compete overseas, and it's not going to be handled, completely overnight just by cutting USAID or by one policy change. A lot of this bloat in the government has to just be taken out, and there's going to be scrapes along the way. There's going to be some good things that get cut as well. But in all reality, if we don't drastically cut down what our government does, then everybody, black, white, red, yellow, we're all going to be screwed in the
But
future.
he's not doing that. He's not doing that at all.
Not nearly as much as I would like. I agree with you there.
Right. He's just signed a big ass tax cut bill for the rich. You know who's gonna pay for that? Me and you. We're gonna pay for that. That money hasn't come from somewhere. It's come from me and your paycheck or our business, whoever owns a small business, something like that. It's coming from us. He basically just gave them tax cuts, gave all the rich people all the tax cuts. His friends and all the people that donated him and all the people who buttered up to him. And me and you sitting out here trying to work from paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out how we're gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? Even with the phone, USAID, that's another thing. A lot of times USAID, they purchase the excess stuff that farmers made in America and they will ship it overseas to these different countries and stuff like that. And people don't understand how foreign policy works. A lot of times when you see America giving, like, I used to use a prime example, Qatar, they're setting up a training facility in Idaho now, right? That's called
Oh
diplomacy.
well,
You know what
but
I'm saying?
haven't we always done that?
Yeah, we've
Like
always
that.
did that.
That's
Right,
overblown. It's like, yeah, we
Right.
the shit that we send overseas, we have to train them, and we now have a designated base as to where we're going to train these guys.
And that's what I'm saying. The same thing with USAID. We've always done the same thing. It's always been a way of America having this influence in other countries around the world. And I feel like that's another thing. I feel like we can't isolate ourselves. We can't. The world we live in now, bro, we cannot be isolated. Because if we pull ourselves off the world stage, look who's already making advances already. China. Trump's talking about the enemy within, and he's focusing on sending troops to American cities. Guess what China doing? They're building their Navy stronger. They're building the Air Force stronger. They're building more partnerships with the Pacific
Yeah,
countries. Yeah.
and a lot of that's because of the weakened our weakened status around the world. Maybe as far as the taxes go, before we break too far away from that, I think that we just have a fundamentally like different worldview of taxes. Because even if I see that the rich get tax cuts, right? There's more than likely going to be more room for growth. But I view tax cuts as like necessary because I don't think that we have a tax problem. I think that we have a government spending problem. And so the less taxes, the better. I mean, in all reality, taxes should be voluntary right now. If I had my way, it would be like all of the wars that we fund overseas, all the billions we gave to Russia, all the tens of billions we've given to Israel over the past couple of years, and all these other countries around the world, that should be a voluntary tax thing. Like, if they want, they should be selling war bonds. There's no reason why they just get to unilaterally say, okay, we get to send another 12 billion to Ukraine. Oh, we send another 12 billion to Israel again. There's no reason why we should be compelled to do that. And so as far as tax cuts go, I just see that as like good. We should all pay less taxes, and the government should have to deal with it, because we should have a voluntary tax system that if the American people really felt that it was that Russia was a threat, then they wouldn't have to compel us by threat of jail or prison in order to pay for it, or print tens of billions of dollars or trillions of dollars a year in order to pay for it. Like, all these wars overseas are just done on paper, and they just keep doing it because the American people are compelled to pay taxes. And so as far as tax cuts go, good. Give everybody, nobody pay taxes unless you want to. And I wonder how fast the government would change their actions, because so far they've just been printing money, compelling us to pay all these taxes like crazy. And I think it's a form of slavery, with them forcing us by threat of gun or imprisonment in order to fund all the crap that I mean, realistically, like, I don't want to fund all these overseas wars continuously, but we're compelled to. And so, like, that's just like a little different bit of worldview. So, like, when I hear people say that, like, tax cuts for them, it's like, I mean, everybody should be paying less taxes, and the government needs to learn how to not spend as much money and actually figure out what's important, because they've just like, I've worked with I work in the tire industry, right? So I've worked with the military on and how they just buy tires. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's always just a blank check. It's like, not all these tires are bad, but it's government money, that's never ending, and that's
Yeah.
the mindset, and it goes all the way down the line. And it's like we really need to we need to start prioritizing again what's important. Because with this idea that government just gets to spend money willy nilly forever and compel us to keep paying taxes is the reason that we're $37 trillion in debt. It's not been a tax problem for a long time. It's been a government spending problem. So that's just the difference in worldview. I think is so when you bring up tax cuts, I think immediately good. And I'm probably always going to think that until the government stops overspending all our money on everything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with you. That we we could do better as far as when it comes to government spending. I'm not against that at all. 'Cause like I spent 6 years in the army and I did logistics, so I had government credit cards where I had to go buy and purchase things, and I've seen the budget and stuff of how we have to spend a certain amount of money in order to get a certain amount of funding next year. So I get that, and I don't disagree. And there's a lot of government waste, especially within the military per se. Um, but uh,
See,
we could-
that's a big agreement that we got,
Yeah,
and,
we could
and
definitely.
like that's something that we could really work with because the way that my understanding is that you have to spend a certain amount of money each year in order
Yeah.
to get that money again next year.
Yeah, and that's
So a
exactly
lot of
how
the
it works.
times, like
Yeah.
it's just unnecessary spending where
Right,
they're like,
right.
well, if we don't spend it, then we won't get as much next year, and so
Right.
it's just built on each other. And if that's how the whole government's worked, it's just grown and grown and grown into this giant blob to where now
Right.
we're just actively robbing the wealth of all of our children for generations down the road. And it's
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I don't disagree with the fixing the government spending, but I look at the same time. My issue with the tax cuts is I'm looking at the end of the day. We do those, every time we do a tax cut, that adds to the national debt. That adds on to it. You know what I'm saying?
because they keep spending.
Right. And
So let's fight against Trump and tell him to cut more government programs, knock all this shit out.
no, well, you can't just. That's another thing. Like you can't just sweep across and just say we're gonna just cut everything. Like there are certain programs. For example, I have my grandmother is 75, and she takes which one is the federal? Is it Medicaid or Medicare? I
Yeah.
always get them mixed up. One of them, that's what covers her doctor visits and her medicine,
Yeah.
shit like that actually affects people everyday life. So you can't just go through and just cutting shit like that people might depend on. You might have people who have disabled children that depend on a certain type of marijuana because they have seizures every day. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be, if you're gonna cut things, you got to be strategic. What I would go if I'm gonna cut anything, I'm gonna cut things that has shown me that it has no results. It hasn't had any positive impact on the everyday citizen's life, and get rid of it. But if it's something that's actually beneficial the American citizen, keep it. That's how I look at it. Or what
So
I,
like paying for illegals housing, transportation, and medical insurance. I mean, you remember back in 2020 when all the Democrats were up on stage. It's like that famous time where they're like, "How many of you support free healthcare for undocumented immigrants?" Every single one of them raised their hand. It's that kind of spending to where it's like there's always going to be a story as to why we could do it. Like if we just had unlimited money, but we don't have unlimited money, and we can't take care of all these criminal aliens. Like all of the undocumented immigrants that are in this country are a drain. It's a net drain on our own
I
citizens.
disagree with you, bro. I gotta disagree with you because
I mean, how many billions of dollars have we spent in the past 5 years
because
on
they pay,
undocumented immigrants?
undocumented immigrants, they pay taxes as well.
It's
do
not
pay
a net
tax.
positive. It's not anywhere
But
near
hold
a
on.
net
They
positive.
control. I will say, for example, I just bought a house 6 months ago, and guess who's building these houses? It's not because
Companies
they take
using illegal immigrant labor in order
it- hold on,
to
let me
lower
finish.
their costs.
It's not because they're here stealing folks' jobs. Let's be honest. A lot of Americans don't want to get their ass out there and work in the hot ass sun to build shit. A lot of them don't.
Yeah.
A lot
Well,
of
a lot of them
Americans
a lot of them don't I agree with you, but in a way, like I talked about my brother, how he's stuck at zero. Like he doesn't see the value of going out and working a job 50 hours a week and to where he's not even going to be able to afford a house or a car or anything because it's like a lot of young Americans right now are disenfranchised entirely, completely blackpilled, don't know why they need to go to work. Like that mindset of show up early, leave, be the last one to leave, work your way up the ladder, that hard shit when a lot of these jobs are not paying enough to actually like to live because the
Yes.
government's overspent like crazy. And we're $37 trillion in debt, which a lot of these young people look at and they go, okay, I'll start off at, $20 an hour. What's that going to get me? It's not going to get me an apartment. It's not going to get me a car, like a new car or, anything resembling a new car. Even used cars are insanely expensive. It's like
Right.
they can't go out and make a life for themselves. So they don't even want to start. And so I agree with you that they don't want to, but like I also understand kind of why. And I'm not saying it's good, and but I don't know if it's beneficial to like really inspire them to pull yourself up by your bootstraps because you can work 70 hours a week and still not be able to afford basic shit. It's stupid.
Man. Okay, now we agree on something. That's why I hate that fucking argument when it comes from pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You got people that work 2 or 3 jobs right now, trying to survive paycheck to paycheck, and they're pulling with no strings. They have no damn shoestrings. They're trying to
Yeah.
make it. And that's not if you white, black, or you're Republican, Democrat. It's everybody that's
Yep.
been affected by it or whatever. And a lot of that, I feel like that comes from in my opinion, these big corporations have too much influence and policy, not want to pay enough. When you got companies like Amazon a couple of years ago, they paid zero in taxes, zero. But me and you paid more than Amazon paid in taxes.
I mean,
I get it. You don't want to pay taxes. Taxes should be low as possible. But we live in a country of over 330 some million people, bro. We're not living in 1776 when they had a couple 100,000 people in the country, or maybe a million. I don't know what the number was. There's certain things like we got roads, we got interstates, we got infrastructure, we got hospitals, we got police, we got there's certain things that we depend on every day, that our taxes pay for. So that I think that's maybe the part we disagree as far as.
well, I think if we looked at those things that you just listed are probably like that they're like this
Right.
much of the budget. And that those are constantly used to justify all the budget, right?
Right.
To
And a
justify
lot of- but
everything.
again,
And
a
they
lot of that-
slide in all this shit.
Right, but a lot of that money that you got, a lot of that extra stuff that pork they slide in, that end up going, it's going to these motherfucking billionaires. It's going to the wealthy, the top 1%. Guess who's getting those contracts when they open up private prisons? It's the rich.
Man, guess who's buying shit on Amazon every single day?
Right,
Guess who's
right.
still buying?
It's-
Guess who still has a subscription to Disney
but-
Plus?
Right, but guess
who-
what? I get all that. But what
Yeah.
else can we do? We live in a system where it's a catch 22. It's like
You're right.
you
Yeah.
can't help it but go to the store to Amazon to order these tennis shoes, because guess what? In the 80s, all the rich people who wanted to move their business overseas so they can make as much max profit they could, no longer making American made stuff like we used to. Those days are that's another thing. If you think that we're going to just manufacture, we're going to bring back the glory days where we had America made in America all over this country, that's not happening, bro. Because for one, Americans don't want to pay where a pair of jeans cost 50, now they cost 100 because it's made in America. Americans are not going to pay for that. They've gotten used to convenience. They've gotten used to $30, $40, $50 jeans.
Complacency is a killer, man. We also don't repair our jeans. We also want name brand shit that is way more expensive, but it's made by slaves overseas. So the culture of America has also become less reliable on their own abilities and more reliant on outside or outsourcing everything, right? Like my wife and I make a ton of sacrifices to live the way that we live, right? Like I bought a house before the housing market skyrocketed. It was still expensive in my opinion, but we can afford it with just me working, right? But that also means that like on the weekends, when I have a problem in the house, like I've had to replace all the flooring in my house. I've had to fix plumbing at times. I do all the maintenance on all of our vehicles, and I have to do all of that stuff in order for it to work, because like the only way for us to be able to have my stay-at-home wife with 2 kids and still live a life, with 3 dogs and be able to afford food for everybody, the only way to do that is for me to learn how to do everything myself. And I feel like there's a giant part of the population that is unwilling to do that, or it's unwilling to buy clothes for their kid at Goodwill. Like when we went shopping for my son, we just went to Goodwill, and we were looking at yard sales throughout the summertime to go get new clothes for him for school. Like this shirt that I have is like 4 years old, right? I don't go out and buy new clothes for myself. I don't like when I get new shoes or new something, generally, like, well, new boots are different, like new work boots.
Right.
I tear through boots like, yeah. But I make a ton of sacrifices, and I don't relay this all the time, because I know that kind of puts a different status like on myself. Like nobody has to know that my son, when he goes to school, nobody has to know that all the clothes that he's wearing are second, or, they're not hand-me-downs, but they're bought secondhand, right? But I'm willing to do that because the priorities that I have are keeping a roof over my family's head and making sure they're all fed, and everything else. And I try to not go out and buy new clothes for myself all the time, or anything like that. So like I want my kids, I want to embody the values that I preach. And so I want my kids to understand that the clothes that you wear aren't important, that, you can wear your confidence more than whatever outfit you have on, that, the value, I want to teach them certain values that I feel like Americans have been overtly complacent with a lot of their, the luxuries that we have in this life, where they say like, you can't have a stay-at-home wife. It's like, well, if you do, you just have to make a shit ton of sacrifices. Like the newest car that we have is a 2008. That's the nice car that I bought my wife. It's nice. It's got all the bells and whistles, but it's also it's a 2008, and we paid for it in cash. And like I said, I'll do all the maintenance on it, and I'll do everything in my power to make that vehicle run for as long as possible, because I'm willing to learn. And I just don't think that Americans are comfortable enough with canceling their Netflix or canceling some of these luxury things that we experience in the day-to-day, or not ordering something on Amazon, as opposed to going down to the Goodwill or looking at your local yard sale in order to buy it, or like being okay with those shoes, like secondhand shoes or secondhand clothes. Like Americans just aren't, the culture has changed to the point where we'd rather buy a vehicle that's brand new or lease it for 4 years and get a new one every 4 years. Or same thing with the phones, right? Nobody wants to buy a secondhand phone. They're going to go to the Verizon store every 2 years because they got a new upgrade available, and you'll pay for a brand new phone every 2 years because it's included in your monthly bill. And we've just, as a culture, we've accepted this idea in complacency, and then believing that our lifestyle has to be a certain way, and it just doesn't. Like, I know that everybody can't do it, but we really need to we really need to start changing the idea that companies like Amazon, if you believe that they're not paying enough in taxes, then stop paying them. It's like you paid, you bought all these things on Amazon, which you didn't have to. You could have got them somewhere else, or you could have shut off your TV, or you could have, not had Amazon Prime, or you could have, taking your shoe to a repair shop in order to resole them instead of buying brand new ones. I don't know, just dumb things like that. But we don't have that kind of culture anymore to preserve. It's always a throwaway culture. It's just
Yeah, we're at a point in America where everything is pretty much comfortable now.
Yep.
Uh, we got more access to things and pre- more access and more wealth compared to previous generations. And it's all about your personal convictions. Like that's all what you do. I think it's
Comfort is
good.
a killer of conviction, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it all depends on what you value personally, and how I look at America specifically when you talk about what we value.
Hmm.
I feel like people should value. How can I put it? We should have some core values, but we're not always going to value the same things.
Yeah.
So you might.
That's why I
Right,
advocate for Christian values because
right,
I believe that that's the best way to go,
right,
or at least moving forward.
right, and that's fine. But I don't, and that's cool. And I feel like uh, that's your personal relationship with God. That's your personal path for your life. We live in a nation of. I know y'all hate this word. It's like it's a slur on the right. We live in a diverse nation with people from different backgrounds, different religions, different faith, different small town to city. Not everybody's going to have that same thing, and I don't think that we should. Uh, I don't. I think we should have some core values and things we all agree upon, but I don't think we should be that we should push one faith on people. And I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Um, but I also believe that my relationship with God is personal, and I don't believe that we should. I believe that the church and the state should be separate. Um, I think we can live in a multipolar, like a multi ethnic, or multi. How can I put this? A
Multicultural.
multicultural, different backgrounds, because that's how I grew up. I grew up, and then when I went into prime example, with going in the military was one of the best things I ever did because I got an opportunity to meet and create friends and brothers and sisters. I developed relationships with people from white boys from small towns in Indiana to cats from Los Angeles who were former gang members to friends who are from Samoa. Uh, you know, I got introduced to country music because I grew up in the city. I didn't know nothing about country music. I knew was
Yeah.
R&B, blues, hip hop, and those things. And I feel like as a country, me experiencing that, like we have to allow people to be who they are, or whatever that religious belief might be, or whatever that belief system might be. As long as it's not infringing upon your life, you know, those
I
not.
I I kind of see what you're saying, but I also think that that is the easiest way for your children's values to get to get maliciously taken over by somebody else. Like when you say that like you were raised by family, right? So your parental structure fell apart, but your family with Christian values were able to support you growing up, and you saw that, and so wouldn't it be best, like if your kids were raised with no Christian values, and let's say that the family structure that they were setting up fell apart, would they have the same kind of family backing without Christian values that you had growing up? Because if you had multiple family members that were Christian, or went to church, or believed in the family unit, that a child is best raised by a mother and father, and if that family structure breaks down, then you're going to have aunts and uncles that help out in that certain way. What's to keep a family together, if we don't pass on the values that we were raised with?
Right, right.
Because the values of the world right now, where we believe in this multiculturalism is ending up where in places like Minnesota or even in New York, in certain places where the Muslims are coming in with their own communities and they're having prayers during certain times, and it's completely changing the structure of, like, for instance, like of someone like Frederick Douglass, right, who fought to abolish slavery, or Cassius Clay throughout history, who gave examples to end slavery, with their own Christian values that passed on, that have been passed on for generations. And now I feel like, without believing that it is necessary to pass those values on, if we don't do that, then the values of our children are going to be hijacked by people who wish to see this country fall. Because there's a lot of people who are trying.
You know why I disagree with that? I disagree with that. No, this is I'm
Really?
gonna cut you off. This is why I disagree with that. Have you ever visited Arlington Cemetery?
Say it again.
Have you ever visited Arlington Cemetery in Washington D.C.? When it was in Arlington, Virginia.
It's possible when I did as a child, but not as an adult.
Okay. When you go to Arlington Cemetery or any national military cemetery, you're not going to just see Christian crosses on people's headstones. You'll see
Yep.
Jewish, the David Star. You'll see the Islamic, whatever, I forgot what they call theirs. You'll see Catholic. You'll see Buddhist. You'll see all these different things. Because, and this is why I strongly disagree with you, because me being in the military, it's his own world. If you ever get a chance, if you ever got an opportunity, or any, if you got to talk to anybody that served in the military, it's like his own world. We got our own PX, our own grocery store. We really have to leave our base to go do anything or whatever, right? And it's a community of people who come from all walks of life, different religions, different beliefs, everything. And guess what? 99% of it, we all get along. We have each other's backs. We hang out. I have friends who were Muslim. I have friends who were Catholic. I have friends who were Jewish. We all hung out.
Right.
We did our own. We got along. We looked out for each other. And if somebody started something with one of us, we looked out for each other.
You're right.
When people tell me, "Oh, we should have this one thing," and we should have this one religion that America has, it should have just has Christianity. I can't agree with that, because for me, it's just supposed to be a nation where people come here. It's supposed to be freedom, right? And that means freedom of religion, freedom to pursue whatever endeavor you want to pursue, to start a family, or to never get married, or to, even if I don't agree with it, if you want to marry somebody of the same sex, that's your freedom. That's what I would. For me personally, that's what I believe America is to be. It's a country where people come to, they can be free to do what they want to do with their lives, as long as they don't infringe on your life or the way you live.
So what happens when okay, so how do you protect against something like the cultural degradation, or the way that they're how Gen Z is like 20% gay now? There's been a direct mission from a lot of these corporations to implement gay and transgender into a lot of these shows that the kids are being raised with, and there is a giant spike in people becoming gay. So how do you protect against a group trying to subvert the culture that was America, right? That got America through the Civil War, that got America through the Civil Rights Act, and then passed it. Now, if you believe that those were good things, a lot of those stemmed from Christian values, okay? And a lot of the separation that we've had from all previous nations in human history has been because of Christian values. It's not one for one, but I mean, I could give you a ton of examples throughout the Civil War, throughout the Civil Rights Movement. In a lot of ways that it has been because of Christianity, and because people believed in the American ideal of a Christian nation. How do you protect against people being subverted in a way that would basically end bloodlines? Like, Okay, how do I put this? 3,000 Americans a day are aborted, and it's been that way for the last 60 years. Okay, so we're missing 100 million Americans at least, right, in today's world because of the push through abortion by somebody like Margaret Sanger, who was a racist, and she decided to put Planned Parenthood shops, Planned Parenthood locations outside because she hated the black people and thought that it would be best to get rid of the black race by putting, Planned Parenthood and promoting abortion in black neighborhoods. Okay. But so through the last 60 years, we've lost 70 million Americans, which if they had kids, it would be at least another 30 million. So I'm saying 100 million Americans in that way. And now through the last 15, 20 years, we have a new generation of kids coming up where 20% are gay, and the newest generation of kids, there's a substantial amount being sterilized through gender affirming care. It's not a full 20%, but there are kids being experimented on hormonally to where there's going to be a large impact on our population for the future. And so how do you protect against something like that without having stricter rules on freedom in that way? How do you protect against someone trying to subvert your culture to end bloodlines maliciously? At least I believe it to be malicious. I believe abortion is malicious, and I believe that gender affirming care is malicious, and the idea that being gay is completely normal, I believe that to be malicious as well, because the promotion of that ends bloodlines in general. So in my view, we're missing millions and millions of Americans because we haven't passed on the idea of the traditional family household, and we allowed a lot of this culture to subvert our own ideals and to promote gayness or to promote transgenderism in a way that it has erased millions of Americans. How do you protect against that if you don't pass on like strong values to your children through something like Christianity, when you just believe that any culture is just as good as another? How do you protect against something like that?
This is how I look at it. Gay people or the LGBT community, they've been here for a long time, bro. They've been in America.
But not 20%. That's the thing.
Okay. We live in a time now where it's more acceptable to come out and be gay, more acceptable, and people feel more comfortable to come out and be gay. And me personally, I don't care about how a person lives their life. If they want to marry another woman, or they want to marry another man, that's their life. That's freedom. That's what they want to do. That's their constitutional right. They can do that. I don't think that anybody should be, nobody of a certain religion should hold people back from doing what they want to do with their life. Now, as far as when it comes to like the hormonal changes and stuff like that, I think they should wait till they're 18 if they want to do that for when they're 18 to transition to a woman or man or whatever. But I go back. I don't think it's right to push one religion on 330 million people in this country when you have people who America's a nation of immigrants.
Well, I'm just talking about the values, though. I'm not talking about everything needs to be Christian.
Right.
But
But I know you're not. But what I'm seeing coming from the right now is it's called it's just Christian nationalism, where they want to make everything about Christianity, forced through government policy, all those things. That's not what I don't think the founders wanted for this country.
I beg to disagree on that.
Yeah,
just slightly.
Yeah.
But the values that you were raised with, wouldn't you want others to experience that as well? Like, shouldn't that be, what do you think that would be best if the Christian values that you were raised with, for other people to have that opportunity, not necessarily be forced, but to be incentivized, to be pushed, as opposed to the idea that being gay is just as good as being Christian, even though that will end the bloodline completely and there'll be no more Americans after that generation.
For me, how I look at it, brother, is my relationship between me and Christ is personal. I don't feel like I should have to. I don't believe in beating people over the head that you should be a Christian. Like I'm not calling you this. I don't believe in that You have to be about. I don't believe that I have to. I have to. I believe you have to live. If you want people to come, to overall to sum this up, if you want people to come to Christ, to come to Jesus Christ and believe in Him, you got to live it. You got to live His exact words. And a lot
Yeah.
of times, and I'm not saying you, a lot of times when I see people who may speak out about against the LGBT community or talk about somebody from the transgender community, they're not living. They remind me of the Pharisees in the Bible. They talk this holy and thou, but on the inside, they wasn't living what Christ talked about. It's like you have to live that word that you're talking about. And what I'm seeing coming from the right is not what I see what Christ talked about, as far as loving your neighbor, helping the poor. You had a man on Fox News, bro, that said that basically they should just execute homeless people. Is that what Christ talked about?
I mean, I didn't hear anything about that. No, I don't think that'd be a popular position
Yeah,
in
but
any
that's the
way.
dude on
But
Fox. I forgot his name. He's on Fox and
well,
Friends.
I gotta be honest. I don't watch Fox News because I believe it's
Yeah,
controlled opposition.
yeah,
I don't think it's. I see it as the same as every other mainstream news outlet.
right,
I don't see it to be right. But
right. But they,
I get your point. But I'm just trying to say, like, how do you preserve a society and a culture if you lose your identity completely under the idea of freedom? Like,
right,
what
but
made, like,
but I
what were
don't.
those founding fathers striving for when they said they wanted people, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Like, how do you protect against that if you
But
allow
it's
the
not
third
for
world
it,
into your country and to take over areas that would completely subvert the culture
but
and
bro, but
implement Sharia law and or
they're
things
not,
of that nature?
bro. They see. This is where I always like. America has always had pockets of areas where you go there. You might have. You go to New York City, you got Chinatown. You go to San Francisco, you got Chinatown. You go to Dearborn, Michigan, you have a huge Muslim population. But all those communities, they interact with each other every day. Like I'm a Christian, I go into the Muslim community right now. I go to the store all the time and buy food and buy drinks and stuff out of the store. It's like we're it's not going to be America's never going to be this one religion, one uh, cohesive like mindset per se.
Yeah, but like all the people that you were served in the military with, I would say that the overwhelming majority, if not all of them, were assimilated Americans, right? Who maybe have practiced the Islam or practiced Judaism or anything like that, but they were assimilated Americans. They were people. They were American citizens who believed in the ideals of America and wanted to fight
Yeah,
for it. Right, one
right.
nation under God. It might not be your God, but uh, the that idea is being
Yes.
lost now, and the
No,
preservation.
I have to disagree with you. Like just because you go to a community like we use, I know conservatives love to use Dearborn, Michigan. Just because you see a huge Muslim population, you see more mosques up there now, does not mean they don't believe in American ideals. You know,
I
like
mean, they literally say that, though. I mean, that's a
that's
lot of the
so you.
Democrat platform right now is again. It is directly against. They say they
No,
promote democracy,
I'm
right?
not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about
Okay.
Muslims. I'm talking about the Muslims, and they may not. A lot of Muslims who tend to be more conservative than what
No,
people.
no, no. They're
Yeah,
using the Muslims right now are using the Democrat Party, the liberal ideas in order to uh, bring in more of their own people. I don't think that they're actually practicing or believe in the American ideals. I
that's
think
where,
that they're
brother. That's where.
utilizing.
This is where and I say this with all respect, brother. This is why I tell people we have to travel outside of our bubbles. I go to these. I grew up in the Midwest, where it's a very in Milwaukee was a very diverse city. I live in Atlanta; it's pretty diverse. I've been to Detroit, Michigan. I've been to all the major cities where you have a big, huge population of people from different walks of life, and a lot of these people they come to America, they start businesses, they have families, they have intact families, especially mothers. That's one thing I'm gonna give them credit on. They believe in family. They have intact family. They do stuff with each other. They send their kids to college. They start businesses. and they repeat the cycle, and and they contribute to America. They serve in our military. They serve in our government. They open businesses. A lot of your Fortune 500 companies, man, were started by immigrants from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So it's like this is what America was. It's an immigrant nation.
I think maybe you just see less of a threat than I do. Like as far as like the preservation of our culture, because I see it. I see it slipping as far as I'm concerned. You know, our birth rates are plummeting. The love for this country, I don't think, is what it needs to be in order to be preserved. I feel like, I mean, there's the idea of the Civil War all the time because we're constantly seeing like two separate worlds. Like people are being raised in different worlds in America,
And
right?
that's
They're
always been
being
America's story, though. America's always been in conflict with itself. Why do you think we had a civil war in the first place? It's always been like this. This is the founding of the country. It's always been at odds with itself. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
at the end of the day, the cooler minds on both sides, or whether it's in, left, right, or whatever it may be, Muslim, Christian, we have to find those things that are in common and agree upon those things and get along. That's how I look at it, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. Military is the best example. I believe the military is one of the main reasons why America progressed, especially after post World War II. It progressed so much. Far as when I say progress, I mean far as along racial lines, economic lines. Because think during World War II, when you had black soldiers and they were in separate units, and you had white soldiers that were in all white units, but they all had to. At one point, they had to fight along the side of each other. You had the Tuskegee Airmen that flew thousands of sorties to protect the white pilots who were flying bombers across Europe. And a lot of time, what happened was a lot of those white boys who were from the South or from some part of the South that who were really racist, they got an opportunity to see, man, this black dude who was flying was covering my ass in the sky is really a good dude, and it became friends. So when they came back to America, some of them said, you know what? They saw, they possibly saw they saw some of the racism towards blacks. Like, hey man, chill that out because I served along some black dudes who are really good people, man. You know what I'm saying? And the same vice versa.
I think you're right there. Like I agree with you because those are the same kind of arguments I use all the time. But that's not being taught to our youth now. What's being taught to our youth is the exact opposite. Is that you should segregate and you should like DEI is necessary in order to move forward, which is going to pit races against each other systematically. It is going to systematically segregate races based on your skin color.
But my thing is DEI is gone now. It's not here no longer here no more. So I don't even have I really don't even talk about it no more because for one, DEI itself it benefited white women more than black people. It didn't benefit my community a whole lot. So it's affirmative action is going now. A lot of those things like affirmative action was set up to right the wrongs of the past. From segregation and things like that.
Pathway to hell is paved with good intentions, man.
Right.
But it set it up for a good reason, but it was subverted and adopted. Hey, I do got to close this out, man.
Okay.
I went way longer than I was supposed to today.
That's cool.
But I was really enjoying this conversation, so we'll have to do this again. I really appreciate you coming on, Anthony. Everybody, give him a follow over at what is it, Smokestack?
Yeah, I think it might be Smokestack. Yeah.
Yeah, Smokestack. Anthony, I appreciate you coming on. I enjoyed this conversation. And your point of view, and I respect the way that you're able to relay this stuff to me and help break me from at least respectfully disagreeing for the most part. But you seem like a good guy. God bless you. But I got to get out of here. So thanks for coming on, brother. You guys, thanks for watching the Cowboys and Indians episode 83. We had Anthony H on today. He's a great man, great patriot. So God bless you guys. I'll get out of here. We'll see you on Wednesday.
All right, take care, bro. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. God bless.
All right, have a good night.
See ya.